Hello, everybody. Today is May 26th. Is this Memorial Day?
No, that will be the next Monday.
Next Monday? Okay. Well, prepare for that if you're in the U.S. Today we're doing AI and nonsense stories, though, to share with your friends.
This is the story I've been waiting for.
Yeah.
And this is a move that we've seen so many times at this point, where this is the workflow. Gain a superior position in the market, then go before Congress and beg to be regulated, knowing that that will shut out most of your startup competitors.
Yes.
Because the regulation will be overwhelming.
OpenAI CEO in quote-unquote historic move calls for regulation before Congress.
Who called it historic? One of the senators who was invited to the dinner before they started for the regulation.
Oh, yeah, they did have the dinner.
Yeah, I had to read about that, too. And it was like private only. And he was like, we would hate to do something that would ever harm anybody. And Congress was like, that's so great.
He is so much better than Zuckerberg at this kind of thing.
Yeah, he's very good at schmoozing, from what I gathered.
30 seconds in, I was like, Mark Zuckerberg needs to review every frame of this because this is a masterclass in lizard person.
Maybe he's the new improved AI and Zuckerberg's a former model.
Yeah, it could be, right?
Gosh, what an existential crisis if you're the older model AI. There's a lot of science fiction about that kind of along that kind of a storyline. But no, you owe it to yourself to go watch this because his motives are very clear that he's not giving direct answers to the questions at all. And he believes that OpenAI is in the best position far ahead of everybody else. And he sees OpenAI as becoming the next Google, especially if other companies have regulatory hurdles that they have to address to sort of get there. But also our congresspeople demonstrated remarkably bad understanding of the technology underlying all of this, which is really an accomplishment that I could be impressed by how terribly they misunderstand after having watched the Facebook and Google testimony.
Most of them don't understand the technology behind a toaster.
One of the other things he said too was like, we're not really going to replace people. We're just going to make it better for them to do tasks. And the way it was worded, it was just weaselly enough that they're not going to understand
Well,
that.
remember the media, ever since the AI started to pop up, the line has always been, it won't destroy jobs. It will just make your job easier.
Right.
Which
The word they kept repeating was, it's going to help you do tasks.
Yeah, and that's just ridiculous because every employer is going to be like, oh, your job is easier. Now you can do twice as much, and we don't need this other guy. Mm-hmm. That's always how it's going to go. I mean, come on. You have to be phenomenally gullible to believe anything.
If you're the person who's stuck on to, like, do you think you go to your boss? It's like, well, since I'm doing two people's jobs, can I get more pay? And it's like, oh, sorry, no.
No. We're actually paying for the AI subscription.
Don't we have record revenue this year? What about that?
And I have to imagine that this is also a bit of a cynical attempt to appease some people before the fact, right? Because this is going to be like, well, listen, you don't have to use our servers. You don't have to have 10 million GPUs. We'll just give you some crappier versions.
OpenAI readies a new open source AI model, the information reports. And this is because the ones that are actually open source, the large language models, are actually shockingly good. They're at least as good as GPT-3, even better than the one that we were playing with in AI Dungeon a few weeks ago.
And they are going to let more and more people in. They're no longer throttling, and they want everybody in there, and they want you to train in that data set.
OpenAI launches free ChatGPT app for iOS.
I think this is ChatGPT 3.
Yeah.
I think is what they said in the article.
An Android app is coming soon. Now, this is interesting because Apple's position on this kind of thing historically has been, if you can't tell us what the content is going to be ahead of time for us to rate it and ensure that it's okay, we're not going to allow your app. So Netflix is okay because their catalog is predefined. But say a Commodore 64 emulator where you could type a basic program into it, that's not okay because you could type something in that it would then be real naughty.
But that could be the difference maker between somebody who's choosing between Apple and Android. So I think they'll make an exception here.
Yeah. Stupid Apple and their arbitrary rules.
Stupid Apple and stupid Amazon, who has one of the worst searches ever. Not because they can't get it right, but just because they've made so many carve-outs for ads and backroom deals and stuff like that. I imagine all that's still going to be in there, right? They're going to train the AI to keep that in mind.
Amazon plans to add ChatGPT-style search to its online store. This is actually something we suggested a few weeks ago. It's like, hey, Amazon, what's the best product to do this thing? Here you go.
Except that's all going to be bought out by marketing agencies again.
Exactly right.
I found it. It's the Amazon Basic product.
Oh.
Which, spoiler alert, if you are subjected to the Amazon Basics HDMI or DisplayPort cables, I'm so sorry.
Amazon GPT. You find anything that's not Amazon Basics? I'm sorry, I can't do that. And then it just shows you a whole results page.
That's not allowed. And if you have a big tech company, at this point, you must add AI. Even if your company doesn't necessarily need it, if your product won't really benefit that much from it, you have to add it or you cannot compete.
Zoom will soon integrate Anthropic's chatbot across its platform. So you can chat with somebody that's there. Can they add a breathing sound too? So that when you're in a Zoom meeting with somebody, it's just like, wait, who's not on mute? Oh, it's the AI that's monitoring everything that we do.
It's really heavy breathing too. It's really uncomfortable.
I would rather its presence be known than it be surreptitious.
And we're now in a situation where every week we get a language model for something new, and they just get more and more dystopian.
Hippocratic is building a large language model for healthcare. Oh, what could possibly go wrong?
So much. So much.
I'm imagining a scenario where you're like trying to describe your symptoms, but because you don't use the exact keywords it's trained on, it has no idea.
Yeah. Also, what do we do when the large language model is confidently incorrect, as we see as the case with ChatGPT?
Usefully correct.
Well, they claim it's not going to be for doctoring. That's probably a lie. It's more about for patient communication and bedside. You know, we've had that study where they feel like AI has more empathy than doctors.
Yeah.
But it's not really empathy, is it? It's just a false
simulated
robot.
empathy. Yeah.
I think no. Well, okay. What about this scenario? The doctor looks at the patient file and it says, okay, to its AI assistant, the doctor says, I need you to write a response here that says that their blood sugar is completely out of control and they really need to tone down the number of sweets and they're going to have to get in a lot more cardio. And then the AI just goes to town making a lot of prose and it's like, oh, okay, this is good. Send.
Yeah, you're wasting my time. Just tell me the reality.
Yeah.
You're a healthcare professional. It is your duty. That's the oath, right?
What do you do with an old person who won't bathe?
Wow. Starts with an E. I bet that when the AI answers that question, I won't say the word because we'll be, but it has to do with young people in Asia. And what do the people on the street? How do the streets feel about AI?
AI threatens humanity's future, 61% of Americans say. Oh, it doesn't really threaten our future so much as change it.
They broke it down. Trump voters are more terrified of AI, but even Biden voters were. I think
nobody feels good about it, I don't think.
Well over half.
If you're a plumber or an electrician, AI is not coming for your job. I'm sorry.
Until they start making houses that are super cookie cutter, and then they can just do it with a robot.
Well, that's probably at least 10 years off. At least.
Faster than expected.
And some of the things that we don't think about with AI has to do with, like you were talking about earlier, when it's wrong, people don't understand that it can be wrong. All the hype has sort of hidden that, right? But you cannot trust the AI. And yet the dumbest of us, the people who are at the bottom, or the top of Mount Stupid, are going to trust the AI. And then you're going to get this.
Professor flunks all of his students after ChatGPT falsely claims it wrote their papers. That was at Texas A&M. Someone quickly educated the professor on, wait a minute.
Now, to be fair, this guy was like in the rodeo program. So, we're not talking about physics here. But he was also teaching a course on agriculture, which is a science. And people wrote some papers and he was like, I know what I'll do. I'll ask ChatGPT if it wrote these papers. And ChatGPT was like, yeah, I might have. So he failed everybody.
Yeah, maybe I did. Maybe I didn't.
This guy wrote his
What are
thesis.
you, a cop?
He wrote his thesis about something about pigs, rearing pigs, I think it was. And somebody went and took his entire thesis and gave it to ChatGPT and was like, is it possible you wrote this? I think it was in the 70s when it wrote it. And ChatGPT was like, maybe I did. Could have. Yeah, sure could have. It looks like something I might write. So, shocking. They got to graduate, but then they got a notice after they graduated. It's like, you're not getting a diploma.
Oh, just kidding. You get it. Here you go.
Yeah, eventually they go. And we learned that AI was good at talking to you in terms of medicine, but also predicting things that normal doctors might miss. It seems like more and more studies are leaning toward that. Can we trust these studies, though?
Study AI can predict pancreatic cancer 3 years ahead of human doctors. What does it see? What does it see? What did you see, Denver Coder 62?
That's a good reference. I don't know that they'll get that, but.
And we learned about this gal who is apparently a pretty popular OnlyFans. I think it's OnlyFans, right? She got some kind of online sex trade going on. And she was interfacing with a lot of people every day, because that's a big part of it, I guess. And she found that she was just a little overwhelmed. So she turned to AI. Now, this reporter, Chloe Zhang, has tried it out.
My AI girlfriend charges $1 a minute and only wants to talk about sex. This is according to Vice on Motherboard. But when you dig into it, they brought it up with the creator, and she said, no, we explicitly trained it not to do that. But apparently it did it anyway.
Just like the AI dungeon was just to do a dungeon crawler, right?
Yeah. Well, it does factor in the conversations that it's having with other people, and that's apparently where other people take it, and so it's just overwhelming.
But also, this girl sells smut. I mean, what do you expect?
Well, the training data is,
What was this the one? I don't know. I thought it was that she didn't go that far. That there were no lewds or nudes or anything.
Is she? Wow. How do you build the empire with just
I might be wrong.
R-rated content?
I could be totally hallucinating that, like the AI.
Anyway, she's apparently making a killing because a lot of people are signing up for this. She said that when she interacted with her real fans, she determined that they were mostly, like zero confidence beta males. And she was like, they really just want somebody to talk to them because they have nobody. That's when I had the idea to make the robot.
Oh.
It's going to be really awkward when she runs into somebody in person. It's just like,
remember when you told me to come seek you out? It's like, wait, what?
Oh, there's a great trial that just happened where the girl was leading the guy along with little things like that. He was in her house at one point, and she called the cops or whatever, and they came and got him. And then afterwards, she texted him and was like, don't ever do that again. That was not okay. But it was kind of hot because she was playing him along. He was giving her so much money.
It's a good way to get murdered.
That's a great trial. You can watch that on the Law and Crime Network. And Google has announced that, or recently we did a story and they announced that they had this text to music AI, and they were like, we don't know, it's too disruptive. We're probably not going to release it. But things certainly move fast, don't they?
Google makes its text to music AI public.
Shout out to Kyle Wiggers.
Music LM. Look at that.
We've learned that this can easily be exploited to steal from Spotify.
Hey.
Can you make something that sounds like this? Sure, here you go. Thanks.
And the AIs we must not forget that they are currently getting better. With every moment, when you're sleeping, AI's out there hustling and reading.
Anthropic's Claude AI can digest an entire book like The Great Gatsby in just seconds. So it has to do with tokens. You see, when they talk about tokens, how many tokens can it handle? So Claude's memory can handle 75,000 tokens. So you can say, here's The Great Gatsby. Tell me what happened in the book. And it says, okay.
And in the future, when we are all locked in our homes at all times because the AI is running the world, once a month, you're going to get your WorldCoin stipend, and you're going to be able to order one mealworm pizza.
The AI literally is stay in your home while I figure out what to do with you. And it's like, oh, okay.
And you might be thinking, well, how am I going to get that pizza if I'm locked at home? Well, good news.
It's a bird, it's a plane, it's a pizza. Drone delivery in Seattle and Tacoma could soon be reality. This actually looks kind of cool, but I don't think the pizza would be. It'll get banged around the box maybe. And
someone will take that thing out. Like you just come out with a broom and that's my pizza now.
It would probably withstand a broom shot.
You think?
Yeah.
I think if people were committed enough, they could take it out of the sky.
How is the food recipe for the pizza going to be altered to be able to withstand more G's than a typical pizza? It's all the inertia of.
It's going to be 99% insect. It's all chitin.
It clatters around in the box.
You know how the guy that invented the little plastic stand so the top of the box will never go into the cheese?
It looks like a little table.
Yeah, it's going to be like that, except there's going to be little plastic things that lock it into place in the box.
Now, they claim that the technology is fully there. They've tested it. They're ready to go. It's only the FAA that is keeping this from happening.
Fascinating.
I'm sure they'll allow it soon. We only got one little space story this week, but as usual, it has to do with a black hole.
Astronomers spot the largest cosmic explosion ever. Apparently, this was something that lasted for years that normally would only last days or weeks.
Yeah, I saw a couple articles about this. A lot of scientists were really puzzled by it, seems like.
The biggest theory, or the most popular theory, is that a black hole consumed a gas giant.
Ooh. He's going to have some heartburn after
Oh,
that.
so much indigestion.
Yeah.
You're going to have to change his underwear 3-4 times a day. And here's something that I didn't know this was a new hype thing, but apparently we're going old school with our entertainment.
Pinball is booming in America thanks to nostalgia and canny marketing.
I have not seen this anywhere.
Did they ever make a Star Trek The Next Generation pinball machine?
Oh, yeah.
What are those worth?
$10,000.
Like, there's no hesitation that you knew immediately.
Well, I mean, I would be shocked if you said no. They make pinball out of everything.
I want to say that I saw somebody playing one in a YouTube video. I don't think I've ever laid hands on one.
What would you pay for one? If I said you could have one right now, mint condition for $2,000.
I mean, that's probably a good investment because they can sell it for a lot more. I'd enjoy it for a couple weeks and then try to get somebody to get rid of it.
Well, this was a very disappointing science story because the way it was presented, now this is a paywall alternative, but it was all about the dream glove. How cool does that sound? The dream glove. Well, the glove doesn't make you dream. That was a lie.
Science reporter. Wait, where's the headline?
Yeah, well, this is a paywall alternative. The headline's on science.com, which is paywall.
Dream glove boosts creativity during sleep. Yeah.
It doesn't.
This sounds like startup nonsense.
It's like, oh, you'll have your most creative ideas for this. Listen, I've got a more inexpensive way that you can do this. Take your keys, put them in your hand, and go to sleep in your chair. So, like, you lean back, you go to sleep in your chair, and just when you start to nod off, you'll drop your keys. It makes a noise and it wakes you up. There is something to that. If you do that, I promise you'll have an interesting experience.
Promise? No, Level 1 does not make that promise.
It's sometimes when I read a lot and I have to like process the information into usable memory, I'll read a bunch and then I'll take a little nap like that, and that's enough of a nap that whatever happens in the sleep process, I can use the knowledge more quickly.
I feel like this would be terrible for me because I would have, really creative dreams or whatever, and then I'd wake up and I wouldn't remember them.
Well, that's kind of the whole point. So the dream glove doesn't make you dream. What it does is it monitors your sleep activity. And when it catches you going into the first stage of sleep, that's when this machine starts whispering to you.
Oh.
So it's trying to control your dreams. And then when you get to the point, like what Wendell is talking about, where you are in a place where you could probably remember your dream, it wakes you up.
You're being incepted is what.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
And so they did some studies where they talked about trees, the dream voice. Once they got them in the dream state, they talked about trees. And sure enough, everybody woke up and they're like, oh, yeah, I dreamed about trees. They claim it makes you more creative, too.
Neat.
It makes you creative, makes you more moldable to whoever's whispering in your ear.
Yeah.
And how long until instead of trees, it's Pizza Hut?
Man, I could go for some pizza.
That's literally the round 2 of the venture capitalist business plan.
And they'll sell it as a sleep aid.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, sleep deeply with Dream Glove. Sponsored by
They'll change
Pizza
the
Hut.
name now because they've had this article come out. It'll be something different.
It's another joke that Futurama did first. It's like, oh, didn't you have dream ads in the 21st century? Oh, sure. It was literally everywhere except our dreams.
Yeah.
Well, we've had some big advertiser missteps recently, and a lot of companies just do not seem to know how to deal with this changing world. Bud Light is maybe the worst case. Now the pendulum has swung the other way, and they've made it seems like an equally bad decision here.
Bud Light to launch camouflage bottle amid transgender controversy.
Look at this thumbnail. Beer wars.
I think a lot of these old school media companies are making a bigger deal out of this than perhaps exists in reality. But
It reminds me a little bit. This is a dated reference, but like, you remember when they sold the ketchup that was different colors? There's a lot of outrage about that too, and I don't really understand why.
Crystal Pepsi.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Crystal Pepsi was awful. Tasted awful.
I don't know. They what didn't it taste the same?
No.
No, I thought that was the whole idea.
Well, it was supposed to taste the same. It's like same great taste, blah blah blah. But if it had been in the sunlight for any amount of time, something bad happened to it.
But yeah, also a couple other companies. Miller did like a feminist ad. I think they did it way back when, but now people are digging it up and being outraged about it. So
touch grass, everybody.
There's-
Calm down.
There's so much other things to be worried about than
Yeah.
that. It's just like, come on.
here's an idea. What if you did advertising that was about your product?
No.
Bud Light, the same as it always was.
Bud Light, still piss beer after all these years.
We got all these Clydesdales. What did you expect to happen?
And you know, the whole gender thing. We're all worried about AI now, right? We don't have time to worry about this. But some people, and I think what's happening here is it's like, wait a minute, I'm not special anymore. That's unacceptable.
Caitlyn Jenner's headline is that she said that the transgender population is growing at a disturbing rate. That doesn't, like, again, this just seems like it's just designed to sow
That's a Newsweek.
insanity.
It's designed to get attention.
Yeah, that's just why.
I'm a black hole of attention, and I'm not getting as much because other people are now doing the thing that I did. Please pay attention to me again. Remember when I won the Olympics? And it's fun to look at the, in a world where they're telling us that there's not enough money for anything and that we all need to tighten our belts.
Queen Elizabeth II's funeral cost the UK government $200 million. Just stick her in a box and use the other $199,999,000.
Surely they have a lot of that stuff they can reuse from other state funerals, right?
Why does there need to be a funeral?
I mean, you can have a funeral.
You know what? Dig a little pit in the backyard of the Windsor Castle, burn her, shovel up
Give
the
her a
ashes,
Viking funeral? That's insensitive.
put that in an empty Gatorade jug.
This is Queen Elizabeth Wing, where the keystone is literally Queen Elizabeth.
Yeah, you could mix her back in to a stone. That'd be great. And the excitement of the revolution. Remember, we had during the summer of that year, we had all the socialism. It was going to be socialist companies. and
Hot socialist girl summer.
They were going to fix everything that was wrong with the economy. They're going to change the paradigm.
Toronto Pay What You Want Cafe shuts down after a year. The Anarchist opened in March 2022 as an anti-capitalist communal space, and turns out you got to have money to keep the lights on.
Weird. Really expected that to work.
It's weird because I've seen that work for albums, but it's usually like someone who's already massive. Like Radiohead did that, I think, for an album many years ago.
But
Pay
an
what you
album
want.
doesn't have any input cost.
Right.
Like, they don't just give you coffee beans.
Yeah. You have to exchange them
You need
for
milk
currency.
and
Yeah.
syrup. Now, I was somewhat entertained by MILF Manor. I was not able to
The TV
finish
show.
it. Was there a real one?
Well, I mean, I'm just saying that for the algorithm reviewer person who's coming eventually to
A
inspect
person.
that.
You mean a robot.
And it's just...
We love AI.
There's a TV show, and that was the title of the TV show for context.
I didn't stick all the way through it because, frankly, nothing happened. I was expecting hot MILF action. There was none. But perhaps, once again, we can go back to a slight modification of that formula.
The Bachelor Senior Citizen Edition is coming.
Is this because that's who watches cable?
I was just thinking the same thing. right?
Yeah.
They're appealing to the only audience they have left. Apparently, STDs are a big deal in nursing homes.
Yeah.
So,
I've heard that.
Huge problem, apparently.
yeah, they might be into this. What if every nursing home started their own little competition? That'd be great. Put it on YouTube. Here's a hilarious update, which counteracts or contradicts everything that we've been taught, because what we were taught was supplied by the industry.
WHO advises not to use non-sugar sweeteners for weight control in newly released guideline. It stops short of saying that if you're already dieting and you take sugar substitutes, it'll really mess with the systems that regulate that and can help create like a diabetes type 2 situation.
It's literally worse.
Wow.
And it tastes terrible.
And that's really what matters.
I'm surprised it took this long to come up with this idea, because really all they've done is they've taken the soft drink machine and just changed it a little bit. Brilliant.
Heinz, Kraft Heinz unveils a customizable sauce dispenser with more than 200 condiment combos for restaurants.
Man should not have access to that many sauces.
I want to travel back in time and get one of the dudes that brought an entire ship full of like black pepper back, and that was their, that was their life fortune, was the one ship full of black pepper, and be like, this is the future we live in. What do you think of the future?
Frankincense. Also, these are internet connected, and they will constantly be reporting back to Heinz, who will choose the most popular mixes and market them in supermarkets.
We're going to get purple ketchup again.
Free product research.
Are we going to see third-party products added to that, like sriracha? It's like,
I hope so.
Where's your sriracha mustard?
That would be good.
Yeah, soy sauce.
Yeah.
What a crazy world.
This is a landmine of a headline to get through.
Yeah, we can't even get anywhere being able to say this.
Yeah, I don't even know how to. That's some good news, maybe, if you're a bit of a cold fish.
Electrical.
Just look at it.
Yeah, just look at it. Yeah.
So this is actually for people who have maybe some loss of sensation in those areas. And it's all self-reported, but they claim it's a scale of 1 to 5. If they were at a 1, this took them to a 2. If they were at a 2, this took them to a 3.
I don't see how that could work, but okay, that's good. Good for them. Because whenever I check to see if a 9-volt battery is good, if it happens to be really, really good, I have a hard time tasting sweet things for a while.
Next time your wife says she's not in the mood, just go grab the car battery.
Just... We'll have a nonsense story about that next week.
Woman killed.
Yeah.
It's low voltage. It's not 12 volts. And I thought this has already happened.
I also thought this. I was kind of surprised we had it for as long as we did when I was in high school.
Because they did the crusade against soft drinks. But in terms of sugar, this is just as bad.
Chocolate milk may soon be banned in school cafeterias.
I drank a chocolate milk every day in high school.
Now, I want to say this has probably been 10 years ago now, but I looked at a thing of chocolate milk and I was surprised that the sugar in the chocolate milk was like 2 or 3 times as much as white milk, if even adding a drop of Nestle chocolate syrup to the milk, which I thought made it chocolatey enough.
Oh, yeah, it's just almost pure sugar.
Yeah.
They're talking about the limitation would be 10 grams of sugar in an 8-ounce serving. So it's more than a gram per ounce.
Yeah, and that seems like for chocolate milk, you don't need a lot of chocolate to make the milk chocolate flavored.
Yeah, but you need a lot of sugar to make it addictive.
Mm-hmm.
So the kids keep coming back every day. And
they have to compete against Fruitopia. Who wants that? They have to do what they have to do.
Here's some rare good news and nonsense. I created a good news category this week. Unfortunately, I was only able to find one story.
Egg prices are crashing. Here's why. Even despite record industry profits, ... It's almost like the two are not related at this point because the supply has been completely captured.
Also, if you go to the store today and you're like, wait a minute, these don't look like they're crashing. Wholesale prices are crashing. So we're now back below 50 cents per dozen at the wholesale level, which means in the store, you probably expect to pay $4, $3.
I've been eating a lot more eggs lately, and that's really a bummer that they're becoming expensive.
You could be getting those chickens, Krista.
I know. Got so many projects to work on.
Now, what do you guys think? Was this stupidity or opportunism?
It feels a little opportunistic.
Yeah, it really does.
Yeah.
The headline from the NZ Herald was IT worker claiming boss sent kisses in email loses sexual harassment claim. So this was escalated to every level, and the employment agreement also included an arbitration clause. They lost arbitration, so they decided to take it to a real court, and the real court reviewed and said, basically, lady, you're crazy, and made her pay the arbitration fees, which was like $100,000. So that's the amount of arbitration that happened here, which seems excessive. It seems like a lot. So
the thing that she thought was sexual harassment was literally him just using like X as a variable, from what I understood.
Right. He would put something in an email and he did. It was, it was like, you need to replace this with the real thing. This is part of your job. She thought that meant kisses. Contextually, that doesn't seem like it would make any sense.
Or if you were confused by it, wouldn't you ask either one of your coworkers or your boss, like, hey, what did you mean by X?
That was the other big thing is the court said, we're going to give you the opportunity to bring other workers in who might have seen this. And she tried to send it to all of her coworkers the email. No one responded.
This was the UK. I thought it was in New Zealand for some reason.
Probably just they were reporting it, right? Yeah, NZ Herald.
Oh, yeah. It was in the UK.
Yeah, it seems a little.
That's probably a paywall alternative.
Yeah, but just at every level, there was no intent here.
And to give you a little bit of preview of what all of our lives will be like once China conquers the world and controls us with AI.
China fines comedy troupe $2 million for joke about the military. I thought I'd misread the headline, but no, there's no humor in joking about the military.
So the joke, it's cultural, obviously. Humor doesn't always translate very well, but the joke was basically like he was talking about his dogs. And he said that he thought that what the dogs were doing might be fun for dogs, but his dogs instead approached it and then he used a slogan that defined the Chinese military, like one of their marketing slogans, to mean that the dogs were like, just completely aggressive and businesslike about it. The CCP did not care for that.
We joke about the U.S. military all the time.
Yeah, I was sitting here thinking like the primary joke about the military is like eating crowns. Like everyone talks about that.
That's just the Marines.
Oh, I'm sorry. Either way, common joke.
And Dianne Feinstein is back from her long absence. She had shingles, and everybody's happy to have her back. However, when questioned about her absence, she had some very concerning answers.
Dianne Feinstein says she hasn't been gone from the Senate. And that raised some eyebrows because she missed, 60 of 85 votes?
She has a dream glove that's been whispering to her. She's been incepted.
2 months. So the question was, how did she feel about the well wishes she's had from fellow senators following her return? She answered, "What have I heard about what?" And then they said, "Well, you've been gone." And she said, "I haven't been gone." And I said, she said, "I've been working." And they mean, "Oh, you were working from home?" And she said, "No, I've been working. I've been voting." But we know that she hasn't been voting.
There has to be an age limit.
And no, I've been here and I've been voting. And then she finally, before she walked away, she said, "Please either know or don't know." What does that mean?
That's not good.
Now, this is interesting because the original story I saw that was paywall gave details that WXAOW.com, ABC 19, left out, which is a very critical piece of evidence.
Monroe County Deputy on administrative leave after canine officer death. The dog seemed to die of heat, which suggests it was left in a locked car.
Oh.
Yes, in fact, he left it in the cruiser. It had a heart attack and died. He's on unpaid leave, but here's the thing. If a police dog is sent after you and you hurt it or you kill it, they charge you with killing a cop.
Oh.
Did he not kill a cop? I bet you he won't get prosecuted for that.
That's a lot of money. Like, even just ignoring the fact that it was a living thing. Like, that's a lot of resources that go into training a dog like that and acquiring them.
It's
and
ridiculous. It's disgusting. And just, Krista, the pitfalls of being a human female in the modern world.
Right.
And what you have to put up with is astonishing.
London man banned from standing near any woman he doesn't know in public. Who enforces this?
The London cops. So what happened was they were on a subway and a 13-year-old girl with her family came onto the subway. This guy, they didn't describe exactly what happened. I imagine he was like groping her in some way. And they jumped on him and took him. But like, that's in lieu of an actual punishment. They didn't really punish him.
Yeah.
Well, the next time it happens.
Yeah, when the next time he assaults an underage girl.
I'm sure that he learned his lesson. He would never try that again. There's definitely not a compulsion in his mind that will overwhelm whatever they tell him. Pittsburgh is in really bad shape, and they seem to be making some very poor decisions in terms of leadership.
Pittsburgh forced to purchase used fire trucks to respond to fires in SUVs. Why? Why were they forced to do that? Because they don't have any money.
Well, not only did they not have any money, but they ordered some fire trucks. They ordered the wrong fire trucks.
Oh.
And then when they found out about it, they canceled the order, but they didn't place a new order. And then down the road, they were like, oh God, we need fire trucks. And they went back to the company, and the company was like, you realize it takes years, right? You're not going to get, they're going to get the one set of trucks, they're going to get next July, not the coming July, July 24.
Wow.
So now they're going to volunteer departments and buying their crappy trucks.
Meanwhile, there was a story around our area where a certain enforcement agency got that fancy armored car.
Oh yeah. The militarization of the police is very much in force. I mean, what else are you going to do when the AI riots start, right? The unemployment riots. Do you remember the mock-up somebody did not long ago of politicians with NASCAR suits so you could steal all the advertisements? This is kind of that same idea. And the problem here, though, is like, once you get a certain kind of tag, why are you still doing this job?
Yeah, they should just be removed.
But they're not.
Catholic priests to be made to wear QR codes so people can tell if they're sex offenders or not.
A QR code, like someone, excuse me, Father, may I? Like, oh, okay. I can take communion with you.
They're going to be like, rubbing food and stuff on there to try to cover it up. It's like, oh no, don't scan that. So, and actually, it does not tell you exactly what their crime was. This only gives you a green light, a yellow light, or a red light.
They should be removed. Like what?
Yeah, that seems pretty obvious, but they're not going to do it.
Can we make the little insert in their collar a different color? It seems like that would be easier.
That would be a great one, right?
Yeah.
Would you
like the dogs that wear yellow. I'm a little nervous.
I'm a little touchy.
Ugh.
That would be way easier and make more sense.
Yeah, but then you couldn't recycle them because no one's going to scan the QR code, right? I think the idea here is most people would be too awkward to do it.
The joke's on you. I would walk up and do it.
Oh, I would love to do it. And, this headline it's not hard to believe, but I would say that every aspect of society is getting more violent.
Yeah,
that seems to be a trend.
That.
Hospitals create police forces to stem the growing violence against staff.
So they pointed out a situation where somebody just went crazy and they didn't have anybody on hand. So the nurse and the charge nurse ran in there and he pulled out like half of her hair while he was messing with her while they were waiting the actual. So now they're going to have like internal security departments that are always on guard. Another reason not to ever go to a hospital.
Well, eventually you have to.
I put this in here when I saw the headline because obviously Wendell, he's got his public bathroom thing, but there are no details here. Why did anybody put this on a website? What was the point of this?
State police investigate theft of toilet paper in Spartansburg. That's it. That's the entire story.
So
one roll.
Pennsylvania.
You think this might be like, oh, they got like industrial, they moved it out on a forklift. No, one roll under his shirt.
I thought this might be some sort of thing that you were saying with the whole trip to Taiwan because the public restrooms are not stocked with toilet paper because people will steal that a lot of the time.
That's apparently common in a lot of foreign countries, which I think is strange.
Yeah, remember
you can get a credit for it.
We did the story not long ago where I think it was maybe in China they had facial recognition at the public park. So you'd go to the facial recognition and it would give you a serving of toilet paper, and then you had to wait I think 6 minutes to go back and get another one because they didn't want people just running it out.
Wow.
Maybe we need it. I don't know. Great way to train an AI, right? For facial recognition. And, up there in Quebec, they're doing God's work, and it's hard, and it takes courage.
The premier says that raising politicians' salaries by $30,000 requires, quote unquote, courage. The aforementioned hospital violence is beginning to make more sense.
Well, it's pointed in the wrong direction.
Yeah.
Now,
the nurse who's taking care of you is probably not the person you should be angry about for the injustices of the world.
The way he explains this is if we don't pay politicians a lot of money, then only the rich will get into politics.
I mean, kind of true, but like by the time you get into office, like you spent so much on the advertising, you can't do it.
AOC did it, and now she's making a little money. It's weird how that works, huh? Krista, you struggle with anxiety.
I used to do this.
Really?
Yes.
Oh my God, that's so good.
Yeah, read that. Young Americans are using fake British accents to fight anxiety. When I was a checkout person at a grocery store, I used to use different accents.
Oh, you've told us that before, but
Yeah.
you painted it in terms of just being bored.
It was mostly, I was bored, but also like because I was not used to talking to people.
Now they point out that when they do it, it's kind of like Elizabeth Holmes. They have themselves, and then they have the character. Is that how you felt?
Yeah, well, there was once I wasn't good at it, but I tried to do an Australian accent, and I had a couple going that I was an exchange student from Australia, and that I went to the university nearby, but I worked in the summer as a checkout person.
I don't get it.
It's just something to pass the time. You're never gonna meet those people again.
You might.
Yeah, it is gonna be awkward if they were like a repeat customer, but
Oh,
I
you
never
know what?
ran into that.
I noticed this the first time I loaded this page. So, well, I'm gonna do it afterwards. I put this in here because I watched this body cam footage, and it's great.
Cranston City Council in charge with drug possession. Yeah, I read the story and I was like, I
yeah.
don't know why this one's in here. What is this?
So he's asleep in the car, and the cop walks up just to do a check to make sure he's not like having a heart attack or something. He's got the crack pipe in his hand. And the cop he's very honest about the whole thing. The cop was like, how long have you been doing this? And he was like, well, 13 years, but this is a relapse. I haven't done it in some time. So, but see, he still got elected to the council as a former crackhead. That's who's leading us.
Well, I mean, didn't we have the guy that had the heart attack in New Jersey?
Oh yeah, I think I know what you're talking about.
There's a long line of crack smoking. There was
Yeah.
Marion Barry. He was the first. There was Rob Ford from
That's it. Yeah.
from
That's what I'm thinking
Canada.
of, yeah.
Or Canada, yeah.
Yeah, there's been a lot of crack in our leadership, oddly enough. Hunter Biden. He doesn't lead us, but it's part of it. Now, the thing that really blew my mind here, though, was the Providence Journal. You would think that they would argue that like, no, this is the best user experience. We're giving our user the best experience we can, but they admit, oh crap,
Did it actually go away?
maybe I got to click the little. Oh, it's got a cookie or something. The first time you do that, it's like, autoplay videos are annoying, aren't they? Subscribe to remove this permanently.
Oh,
You guys can do that at home. I'm sure the first time it'll work. And we kind of did this, rural schools.
Yeah.
One of
Yeah.
the things that they do at the end of the year is they start bringing animals.
This is a crime against
driving your
humanity.
tractor to school, yeah.
It's a dumb thing to do. I guess the punishment kind of fits the crime here because it doesn't really
No.
No, it doesn't. Track star barred from district competition after bringing her pet goat to school. This is a crime. It's a crime. It was the last day of school.
Are you saying the crime is to ban her or the
Yeah.
crime was to
Yeah,
bring the goat?
like what a dumb thing to punish her for.
She brought it on the last day of school, which I'm sure a lot of people were like, "No, you don't really have a pet goat." She's like, "No, I really do."
Why would people doubt that?
She brought
high
a pet
school,
goat
yeah.
to school, and it was not a big deal. And then they said, "Oh, you get an in-school suspension," which they didn't even tell her. They just told her to take the goat home. So she took the goat home, came back, and they were like, "Hey, you're suspended." And because she was suspended on the last day of school, she couldn't do this thing over the weekend because it's school policy that if you're suspended, then you don't do the weekend stuff.
What if the goat would have chewed into like an electrical conduit or something and died?
Oh, come on.
It's like a cat would be just as likely to do that. You think if she brought a
We
cat?
shouldn't bring our cats to school either.
Well, I had chickens at my school a couple times. It's like a senior prank.
There was literally somebody that brought a pony to our high school at one point.
Yeah.
And
But remember, our high school had a resident goat.
yeah. That was the only way to deal with the weeds on the side.
He
of the
taught
hill.
woodworking.
Yeah, we were literally on the side of a mountain. It's Eastern Kentucky, nothing but mountains. And there was just a goat that had been there before, I think. And I was like, oh yeah, he just lives there.
Yeah.
We're going to teach him to eat the ticks.
And
They will eat everything.
we think that we live in this safe bubble, and that we can be taken care of. The social fabric will protect us, but not from the bees.
Huge swarm of bees strikes LA neighborhood, sending 2 to the hospital. It turns out that it was just a few hundred. It wasn't really that many.
And these were local bees. Somebody was just keeping bees in their yard, and somehow the bees were just maddened by something.
Huh. Probably about habitat loss and destruction.
No, I think they heard about Dianne Feinstein.
Oh, but they're mad about the beer cans.
All right.
They're actually mad about both the rainbow and the camo. They didn't like either, so.
Isn't it a thing where insects like beer, right? You can use that as a lure to kill them. So maybe somebody tried to serve them Bud Light.
And they were angry. They wanted a higher quality.
And finally, a man who was desperate and tried a tactic that was doomed to fail, but God bless him. Unfortunately, the worst thing here, though, is that the accusation had to be put on his poor dog.
Colorado driver tried to avoid DUI by switching seats with his dog, according to the police, which, of course, ended about like you'd expect.
I mean, the cop was behind him before the lights went on. He switched seats after the cop had pulled over in full view of the cop. And then he jumped out of the car and tried to run, and they said they got him within 20 yards.
Well, the guy had to be high, right? Like,
A little drunk, yeah. They said that they released the dog with a warning.
The dog's angry because he was hoping to get his permit this summer, and now he can't.
What's going on my record, Eric?
Well, that was the last nonsense. That was a good one to end on. That was funny.
Yeah, I didn't sort other than the categories, but I made sure to put that one last.
Yeah, that one's good. That's a solid one.
I wanted to make sure I didn't do the dead police dog last.
Yeah, that's kind of a bummer. Wendell, what are you looking forward to in Taiwan? Have you looked up any more touristy things? You'll be there at the time of this. They see this. You'll be there.
No, actually, I will still be in the air. It's because it takes like 13 hours to get there.
The best part of the trip is obviously the airplane ride, right?
Yeah.
If the sirens start going off and somebody hands you a rifle, what is your plan?
I'll probably tell them that I would do more good with the technology.
My brain's more valuable. Please.
It's like send me to signals intelligence or something. I don't know.
You need to learn how to say that in Taiwanese before you make it over there. All right. We'll see you later, chat. Bye.